and we're the rightful owners of this land. So, a certain amount of people which wants to create a nation of unity. And then there's us, the Boers. We don't take part in this, and we're not going to. And we're not going to go away. And we're the rightful owners of this land. So, so that doesn't mean we doesn't see the sunshine over other people. Okay, if you go back in history, you would actually see that the Boers have negotiated with the tribal chiefs and the kings, and we have see them as equal, and we have give them their peace. Okay. Now.
Now carry on, we can hear you.
If we want to share one country, we must first accept the realities.
Help me understand something. If we're going to live in the same country, but you don't want unity, how do we do it?
We never wanted unity.
No, I accept what you say.
Okay.
I accept that. That's what you said.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, then how do we live in one country?
Oh, that's very easy, okay? We can live in this country happily if we have proper borders. So if the Boers have their land, and the Tswanas have their land, and the Zulus have their land, we do not want to mix. Leave Joburg for the cosmopolitans and all this type like
Sounds like apartheid, though.
Yeah, properly, yes.
Okay, all right. Let me hear what my panelists have to say.
All right, y'all. So the father has convicted me because, and this isn't the first time. Back in maybe like 2018, he had me drive all the way from Ohio to Oklahoma, and I did it willingly because I was really trying to, do the will of the Father at that time, like hands down. And he showed me so much. I don't know why he had me drive all the way out there, but maybe it was to see if I would do it or not. And I ended up in Tulsa again, which is funny because I did have a dream I would be in Tulsa again after that. So I don't know, perhaps there was something special about Tulsa. I went there last year, and they have this place called the Gathering Place, and surely there's tons of believers that gather there. So I think possibly because it is a place with a lot of believers, because he was having me approach people as well, bring them back into redemption, But anyway, he had me drive up to this gate, and I was raised with a mother who just didn't like white people. All right. And I would always tell her, you shouldn't be racist against white people, blah, blah, blah. Well, probably around high school and college, I began to see some of the things in which people were saying, their racism towards us. And I just started not to like them. And so I carried that with me for a long time. I mean, I wasn't as bad as some other people. But I do specifically remember saying as a child, because my mom would say things like white people smell like dogs. And so I went swimming with a group of white people one day, and I said, these people don't smell like dogs. What is she talking about? But I think the thing is, when you grow up in an era in which there's a lot of racism, like she grew up in the 60s and 70s, then you start to develop a mindset about people. And so the unfortunate thing is, yes, many white people have this mindset, but many black people have that mindset against white people. Even if there is one decent white person out there, they unfortunately will put them all under the same umbrella. And what the father did when he had me drive up to this gate, there was a vine going across it, and he said, "You're persecuting my vine." So what he was saying is, some of these white people are his vine. They are in the church. They are his sons and his daughters. They are trying to do righteously. But probably over the last year, and I think a lot of it came from just seeing the troubles of my people in Africa, and just obvious racism from white people in America still to this day. A lot of it's subconscious. I always bring up when they sniff around me, or just dirty looks, especially the people in the church, and you'll tell them the Israelites are quote unquote black. Sometimes they'll say so-called black or whatever. And the way that they react, I would not expect people who truly love God to react. They react very negatively. They want to disprove you. They want to call you names, even despite having done no research. And so my thing is, This has seemed to be the plight of many of these people for a long time because their nation has ruled for so long. They believe they can say whatever, do whatever, and still call themselves believers. Now, I'm even feeling convicted in saying this, not to put it in this way. And so I'm trying to hear what the Spirit is saying, because I don't think it's necessarily about the race so much as what it is about the nation. But again, you will look at someone and file them under all the same umbrella. But there are many kinds of white people. There are white people of different nations. So there are white people of the nation of Israel, white people, and then there are heathen white people. All right. So many of these people, they descend from Japheth, from my understanding. And so, and I want to say even some of them might descend from Edom. I mean, the story goes like Edom or Esau, he married a woman, and because of the lineage of this woman, like she was either an Egyptian or a Hittite or something like that, they lost their skin color, which is ironic because the Egyptians and the Hittites were black, but I think because of the sin, they lost their skin color. Their offspring lost their skin color. I don't know if that's true or not, but the Father is convicting me in that I should address them by the nation that they are and not by, how we want to put them under all the same umbrella as white. That's not correct. And I feel better about it. I feel better about saying that, to be honest. There are quote-unquote black people that are just as wicked. There are, and I think we want to place us under all the same umbrella, and that's just not right. That's not true either. There's many black people that are descendants of Esau as well. There's many black people that are Ishmaelites. There's many black people that are Egyptians, that are Hittites, and all sorts of nations, all sorts of tribes. The fact of the matter is, you are a heathen if you do the things of the heathen ways, worshiping other gods, worshiping yourself, all that kind of stuff. And so it is heathen people that are ruling right now, okay, whether they're black, white, Asian, whatever, they are heathens. Now, with that said, this video, this is a heathen nation, all right? They came over, they created war, and they took the land of other people. This land is not theirs. All right. Now, just because somebody builds upon a land doesn't mean it belongs to them. So you will see the book of Jubilees where there were land divisions given in the Bible. And I believe that the Father did this to create order concerning owning land, right? So the Shemites were given a certain plot of land. The Hamites were given a certain plot of land. Bless the Most High for him even doing that. And then the Japhethites were also given a plot of land. So, and this is the whole earth. Each Shemite, Hamite, and Japhethite got 1/3 of the earth. Is God good or what? So what ended up happening is the Canaanites, who were descendants of Ham, they ended up hijacking the land of Shem. Now what's even crazier is Ham, their father, who passed down the curse to them, actually warned Canaan, do not settle in this land because the father has given that land to Shem. He tried to warn them. And so what ended up happening, later on, the land was given back. I believe to Abraham and then to the Israelites. And so that land didn't actually belong to Canaan. It actually belonged to the ancestors of the Israelites and Abraham. It is their rightful land. So the Boers have come into a land that is not rightfully theirs, has plotted farms and businesses and all these kinds of things, stating that they own that land. This is why the Bible says every man will go back to his or her land in the last days, and praise God. Why? Because I think it's him trying to save some people. For example, all these laws are being made right now as far as, immigrants, how they have to leave. Well, people are looking at Trump. Well, you're so horrible because you're forcing out all these immigrants, not understanding that this is the favor of God that is going to save them from what is about to hit America. Now, the Boers, okay? I also believe that people have to go back to their land because they have been doing treacherously in those lands as well. For example, France, who, and this makes me upset to say it, but he's condemning this Ibrahim Traore man who is a military leader of Burkina Faso and is basically trying to unify his people and bring in production and that kind of thing so that they can stand on their own. This man has paid off all the debt of Burkina Faso. He is the first to do that. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but from the surface of it, it looks really great. Now, the thing is, France has to go back to where they came from. He had the nerves to say that Burkina Faso should thank France for what they did, for subduing their people and taking their resources. So this is the mentality of these heathen nations. They go into a place, subdue the people, even creating wars, killing the people, looking down upon the people, and then play the victim when they have to go and are pushed out, and then try to use the higher road in order to condemn you or make you feel guilty about kicking them out. Someone did that to me yesterday, in fact. I was kind of like, no, that's not going to work. Actually, it was the day before yesterday. So I got on the bus and there was a bag of food. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, let me just leave it there because maybe somebody will come back and get it. Well, I sat across from it just to watch it, I guess, and see if anybody was coming to get it. Nobody did, but somebody else got on the bus and they sat right there. And so there was a man, excuse me, this man, he looks down, looks at the bag, then looks back up. He looks down, looks at the bag, picks it up, starts looking in it. And I asked, is that your food? And he says, he don't really say anything. I remember, did he say something? I don't remember if he said anything or not, but by the looks of it, you're looking through this bag like you don't know what's in it. And I said, if that's not yours, then, put it back. And so I took the bag out of his hands. Maybe I shouldn't have did that, but I brought it up to the front of the bus and I told the bus driver this is somebody's food. And he was like so offended that I took this food that was not his from him. And he started trying to come for me and I was like, well, if it's not your food, then you don't need to take it. It's somebody else's. And he's like, Jesus is coming. And I'm like, yeah, he is. But I don't understand why you don't understand that if you are a person who's thieving and taking somebody else's stuff, that somehow you have the higher ground or something like that. A lot of these heathens, they go to church, but they don't know who Jesus is. So another girl, she gets upset, I guess, because I'm giving my side of the story and she tells us to be quiet. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be quiet because I don't feel like going back and forth. But the way she acted was like, you should be sad that you're even saying this to this man who needs this food. And the thing is, the homeless people in America, with all the churches, all the nonprofits, all the pantries that are available, this homeless man, don't need no food. He can go right down the street and get some food from the pantry. Number two, he should not be stealing. But the way they try to play the high road, because usually it's guilt in them, many of them are thieves, when you can not condemn but rebuke them or correct them. This is the same mentality that they will use against a group of people that they have victimized. Heathens, all right? Just heathens in general, okay? We're going to call them heathens because it's no longer about the skin color. These are just people of other nations. Again, you can be black, white, whatever. So now there's another something happened to me too, because I was trying to understand, well, how can they deceive like people in the Congo, like put them into slavery under the guise of Christ? Well, what happened to me is I ended up at a campground and this lady had said something about giving God the glory or whatever, and our works are as filthy rags. And I said, well, God doesn't look at a righteous person's works as filthy rags. And she was like offended that I said that. But my mentality is like, why would God ever call the works of Jesus filthy? Why would God ever call the works of someone who is doing righteously filthy? But the church has convinced people that anything you do is just filthy rags because he's just so high, which he is. But a good father is not going to look at his son and be like, you did great wiping down these wills, but since you aren't as good as me as this, it's just filthy rags. Like, that is not the heart of God. And while she's right about giving all glory to God, she's not right about the filthy rags thing. And so she was offended. And not only was she offended, she came over to me and she said some slight mark real quick. And this happens to me a lot where, they'll do that kind of stuff. And then they'll try to make it seem like I victimize them when they're the ones that are being crazy. And so what happened a couple days later, her daughter and her came into the kitchen and they were speaking in code. And look, I can't speak in code, but sometimes I can pick up on it, just like Spanish, And so basically the lady was talking about how she was still mad at me And then her daughter was talking with her. Her daughter like called me slow and code, and because they're trying to gauge people so that they can one up them, or you know, they want to know who you are so they know how to take advantage of you. And these are so-called Torah keepers. So she started talking to me, and you know, she was saying some good stuff. I was like, yeah, that's good. Oh, thank you. You know, saying thank you for the things that were good. But then I was like, well, you know, these people call themselves Torah keepers, but then they go around calling people slow. And so she immediately like knew that I knew, and then she immediately tried to turn it around and condemn me. So when the Belgians went into the Congo, they weren't truly believers. They drawed in the missionaries and told the missionaries, hey, look, teach these Congolese, you know, about God. And so they did, but then they were like, well, these people already know God. They already have God. And so the Belgians were like, well, just teach them the things about slaves obeying their masters. And so they will use the scriptures, all right, only to put them on other people, to condemn them, rebuke them, correct them, bring them under them, but they will not follow it themselves. So that's why you have to be careful with these other nations, because they don't have the heart to do righteously. And this is why God is going to judge them. And I think he's even going to use Jacob, his battle axe, to judge them, maybe. I don't know. But, yeah, so we got to be careful with these people. They don't have the rights to that land, and I understand that they have been living there for a long time and all that kind of stuff. And you can live there as long as you guys all come under God and become one nation. You can, but you're going to choose not to. You're already saying, oh, well, it's us and them, separate but equal. Basically what's in America, what was in America, separate but equal. And what that typically means is they rule and everybody else is supposed to be their servant. I just don't think the Father's going to allow it. So anyway, I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen with them, like if they have to go all the way back to Holland, because that would be really intriguing. I'm like, because they've been there for a long time, they really have, but we've been here for a long time as well in America, and this is not our land. Many of us are trying to claim it, but it's not ours, and so I'm hoping that the Father sends us back to our land in these last days as well. A lot of people say that there's a second Exodus. I really hope that that is coming soon and that we can escape much of what is going to happen to America. Perhaps we need to be praying about it. And immigrants don't need to be sad or unhappy. You just need to go, all right? Because you're going to fare better if you go back to where you came from. All right, you guys be blessed and have a good one.